I'm at the Becca for telling my stepdaughter that she needs to move on from her childhood. I know I'm going to be the villain for this side. I'm a biological mother to 2 children and a stepmother to 2. My husband and I have been living apart for my stepkid's sake for the last 8 years, and we recently made the decision to have him move back in. My stepdaughter is furious. She says that we're only doing this now because staying apart will not only help her, and that we've never cared about her as much as the other kids. And she's making arguments with everyone she can find to get them on her side to hate me. I'm sorry, but I just can't anymore. I know every parent say this, but we did our best. She needs to move on, or just not anymore if she can't. Yes, she moved out at 13, but we didn't have a choice in that. When my stepkids were 13 and 15, things imploded. I was always told that there was possible trauma and genetic mental illness risk, but it was constantly downplayed and minimized as being handled and just something to watch out for. Until they weren't, social services stepped in. They decided that his kids couldn't live with the younger kids or each other. Despite having a days-old newborn, my husband and I immediately decided to live apart to accommodate this and protect the kids. But this could only create 2 homes. Their mom was no longer an option, and extended family was hesitant, so we had to make a decision. If 15 male went into care, his only option will be a facility. But 13's female best friend's family was offering to be a foster home for her. We didn't want to do it, but it was the only option. I fought for her to be allowed to live with the youngest kids for years. This was removed when she was 16, but she refused. At that point, we wanted her to be comfortable, so we allowed it. After male 23 got arrested at 19, we could have all lived together again, but we decided to continue the arrangements so that 21 female could have the opportunity to live alone with her father if she wanted. It's been 3 years, and it's time to end this. I'm sorry that she drew a bad hand, but she's not the only one. The younger kids have never gotten to have a live-in father. I've been a single mother to 2 children for 8 years. We've all suffered. It has to be okay to make things the best that we can now. I'm getting all sorts of commentary, and I'm questioning if I'm really that bad guy here. Am I really supposed to make the entire family suffer for one person? I'm not the bad guy for being cold and harsh towards my sister. I work with children and teens that live in low-income communities, and I have what many consider to be difficult lives. It is a hard job, and it takes most of my time. I do like my job, don't get me wrong, but it's not as easy as it might sound. My nephew just went through something pretty traumatic, and I feel for him. That's my nephew, and when I heard about the situation, I almost puked. I gave my sister advice and ever recommended doctors, therapies, and programs, and she seems to accept my advice. But she started ranting to me about how my nephew won't open up or is actually really different and how she can't be around him long. I understand, I really do, but she needs to be there for him. Unfortunately, she wants me to move in with them for a couple weeks, put my life on hold and became his little helper like therapist. She said she was willing to pay. I work with children and I'm familiar with helping people deal with their trauma, but I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm more of a teacher or a guide of anything. He needs professional help. My sister doesn't get this and tells me that it doesn't matter, that I'm his aunt and therefore I'm the best option. I told her that if she asks me one more time, then I won't talk to her again. I refuse to put my life on hold and really, I'm not the best fit. My sister thinks I'm being selfish and just don't want to deal with her son because of something she did when we were much younger and because of his behavior. I told her to stop acting like an idiot and focus on her son instead of bothering me. She went silent, said that I'm being really mean, and hung up on me. My girlfriend thinks I was too harsh and thinks I should have least considered the offer since she was willing to pay. She also thinks that since my sister and I are sisters, that I should have at least tried to help, even if I'd found had worked out in the end. I don't know, I trust my gut, but I trust my girlfriend as well. And I know how hard this all has been on my sister, so yeah, I can't blame her either. So am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for laughing at my son's story he wrote? Hello, I'm a male, 43. I'm currently visiting my parents with my wife, with my son and my daughter at their house in the different state they're ours. My son is incredibly gifted and is able to read and write, and he's been able to since he was around 3 or 4, not to mention he loves to. So the other night he wrote a story on a piece of paper and handed it to his mom in the living room. She started yelling at him and telling him that was not an appropriate thing to write. He looked horrified, and I come in and ask what's wrong. She hands me the paper and I skim over it, and I notice that he has used the word in this story. Immediately, I start laughing, and my wife glares at me angrily. I show it to my dad, and he starts laughing too. My wife gets angry and tells my son to go upstairs, and that's I'll be up there in a minute to discipline him. My wife tells me while he's upstairs that, as funny as it may be, I'm setting a really bad example for him, and she'll be teaching him that it's wrong to swear. So I head upstairs and start talking to my son about what he did, but start laughing again and tell him to just not worry about it, and he's not in trouble. Now my wife is annoyed with me, and the situation has passed over now, but I'm curious. Am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for not fully accommodating my friend's many allergies? My friend Jana has a very restricted diet. She can't have any dairy, onions, garlic, gluten, or an assortment of other fruits and vegetables. I decided to invite friends over to a homemade dinner last week and invited 7 people, Jana and her girlfriend Mia included. Mia offered to bring a dessert, then asked another friend if she could bring the spinach and artichoke dip that she does really well, which blossomed into a sign-up sheet for everyone to bring something. I hadn't even planned on it being a potluck. Well, the next day, at the day before the dinner, Mia announced that every food should be made with Jana in mind, that most of the time she had to eat sides of be very careful eating out. So it will be great if she could have an event where she could eat everything. Again, not her event to be making decisions about. I noticed that most people had signed up for stuff like chips, cups, and plates, which weren't even needed, etc. So I just went ahead with my original plan and made almost all of the actual food. I especially made one of my dish and one side that Jenna could eat, but everything else had at least one problematic ingredient because there were just so many of them. It was hard to avoid. During the potluck, Mia shot daggers at me for not following his suggestion and confronted me afterwards asking why I didn't accommodate Jenna. I said that I did accommodate her by ensuring she had a couple of things that she could eat, and that I was annoyed at Mia for trying to hijack my party and thinking she could create rules for someone else's dinner. Mia said that a good friend will care more about ensuring that everyone had equal access at the dinner, and that it was her responsibility to speak up for Jana to make sure she wasn't forgotten about. Am I the bad guy for being disappointed in the surprise destination that my husband planned for us? A little backstory. My husband usually works Friday all day through into the night until Saturday morning. He is a home nursing assistant. For the past 2 weeks, one of his co-workers has asked him to also cover their Saturday night shift. In exchange, he will have this upcoming weekend off entirely. Due to this, my husband asked if I wanted to go to a church conference that weekend or if I wanted him to take us on a trip, but the destination will be a surprise. I choose surprise trip because the times that we have gone to the church conferences, it is not that enjoyable, and it's usually like 6-8 hours event. Weekends are also really the only time we got to spend time together because through the week he works 12-hour shifts. And by the time he gets home Monday, Thursday, it's already 8:30 p.m. I wait for him to get home so we can eat dinner together, and by 11 p.m., I'm usually falling asleep. So for like the past week or so, I had been trying to guess, and every time he hops it up and tells me that he's not telling me. Today I was taken to his grandma and she was telling me that she has something that she wanted to send over to Maryland to her daughter. She started saying how she was going to ship it using UPS, but she was really grateful that my husband said that he will be able to pick it up and get it there for her by next week. I had not mentioned anything to his grandma about the trip or anything. Right when she said that, I already knew where we were going. I called my husband and I was like, so we're going to Maryland? He tried to play it off, but eventually just said, yeah, we are. I just said, okay. Then he was like, wow, I guess you're disappointed. And I said I wasn't, and that it was okay. Then he goes on to say how this weekend is his aunt's birthday and we're gonna go to help her celebrate. He then brought up how about a month ago, when we were looking for a place to go, we had said that we should visit his aunt and her family, but at the time, we ended up going to Florida. We talked some more, and eventually, I gotta admit that I was disappointed because I felt that this wasn't a trip for us. It was more to see his aunt and say happy birthday in person, especially since more than likely, we will stay at her house and be with them the entire weekend. I don't have any problem going to visit them or spend time with her and her family. I just think it shouldn't have been something he didn't try to pass off as a surprise for me or us. I had the impression it was gonna be for us to spend time together, which we will guess, but it's gonna be more like spending family time together. After I communicated this, he started to sound down and then we ended the call. So am I the bad guy for not being excited about this, for the sheer fact that he made it seem like something for us as a couple, but it doesn't really feel that way. Am I the bad guy because I tell my boyfriend she should not be embarrassed of his sister's job? For her job in topic, my boyfriend's sister represents people who cannot afford representation in court. She defends those people for free and they cannot afford to pay for representation. It does not matter what they are accused for. His sister and her colleagues provide representation to anyone who cannot afford it regardless what they are accused for. Sometimes, depending on how infamous these people are, her sister might be seen on the news, or she might give a quote to a journalist who asked her. But when she's on the news and someone associates her with my boyfriend because they have the same family name, my boyfriend always denies knowing her or being related to her. He says that he is embarrassed because the people she represents who are infamous enough to have their trials on the news are not good people. It happens often enough. His sister says, all the time every person deserves to have competent representation no matter what they're accused of, and it should no matter how much they can afford. His sister even says she knows not all the people she represents are good. She hates some of them. However, she still believes every person deserves representation no matter how good or bad. I agree with her. She and her colleagues do a very important job. I tell my boyfriend he should not be embarrassed about her job. He doesn't need to shout in the streets. However, I don't think he should be embarrassed. I tell him this, he argues back that I don't understand how he feels and I should not comment because it's not my family, it's his. I will say that our relationship is very good. He's a very caring boyfriend, and this is the one thing we don't agree on and have minor arguing about. He says it's very embarrassing to have a sister who defends bad people. He says it's not my family, so I don't understand. He says I'm disagreeable and wrong in this instance, and I should leave him alone and not tell him he's wrong. But am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for refusing to give my dog back? We adopted a cute puppy from the animal shelter about a week ago. My daughter video chatted on of her little friend to show her the new dog. The girl's mom was watching the phone as well. I get the phone call and someone girl's mom said we have her dog. I was so confused. She said that she had been missing her dog for a month now and that she believes her mom stole the dog and took it into the shelter. I discussed it with my husband, and he's willing to give the dog back to its rightful owner as long as she refunds us the $100 adoption fee we paid, which is fair. I talked to the lady some more, and she said that she doesn't have any money to pay us the fee. She's currently a single mom of 2 kids living with her own mother. She said she's super behind on bills and debts. Her truck is broke down, etc. I asked if she could afford to take care of a dog right now, and she said she gets free dog food. That doesn't cover the rabies shot and vet visits this puppy needs. Some lady from the pond sent me on Facebook friend requests saying she was trying to get the dog back to the original owner, and I said I wasn't even sure if this was the lady's dog yet, that whatever brought the dog and will have a license on file. It was me feel like they were going to take the dog. She was trying to get the shelter to refund the fee to me. I called today and spoke with the supervisor who said that the dog had been held as a stray for 9 days before they put her up for adoption. She said they don't refund that fee, and we want to make a deal with that lady to pay us. We can buy legally, we own this dog. My husband feels bad, but I don't, because this lady's life revolves around drama. She told me her mom had stolen 3 other dogs of hers before and told her coyotes ate them. Also, she steals her grandchildren's clothes and donates them for tax write-offs. It seems so drama-filled. She said the puppy ran away at 6 weeks when she let it out to the bathroom. Why weren't you watching the dog? I feel like she can't afford this dog. My husband just wants to give her back as long as she pays us to avoid the drama, cause the girl's daughter is my daughter's best friend, and we will see this lady all the time. So, what do you guys think? I'm at the back gate for walking out at the family dinner. So I have a little brother who lives pretty far away from me and lives with my dad and his mom. He's technically my half brother. Every time I go to visit, my brother's mom and my dad will constantly fat shame him despite him not even being fat, and will constantly judge him if he dares eat anything remotely unhealthy, and call it gross despite them literally buying all that stuff for him. This has actually some pretty negative effects on my brother, to the point where he will constantly call himself fat and ugly. I've had to talk with them about this and how much it bothers me, and they apologize, so I thought that mean they would stop. Anyways, yesterday I went with them to a family dinner. I'm putting it in a quotation since I'm technically only related to 2 people at the dinner, that being my dad and brother. Everything was going just fine until one of the people at the dinner started talking about how chubby my brother has gotten. I was already kind of pissed by this, but since there was a good deal of people there, I don't want to cause a scene, so I just kept my mouth shut. That's until my brother's mom chimed in and started talking about how my brother has been so fat lately and how he should eat less because otherwise he will become obese. I kinda reached my breaking point and ended just standing up, getting my stuff, and left to walk back to my dad's house without saying a word to anyone. When my dad and my brother's mom came back, they were really angry with me and told me that I caused a scene for no reason and was being dramatic over a small comment and how I embarrassed them in front of the other people there. I'm starting to think I could have handled the situation better and might have been a bit immature and rude in front of all of those people. So, what do you think? I'm at the back gate for telling my brother-in-law off after he snapped at my sister to go lie down. So my sister hasn't been feeling great recently, and she almost fell when she stood up, even though she said she was fine. My brother-in-law told her to go lie down. Honestly, the way he said it really rubbed me the wrong way, and I didn't like the fact that he was arguing with my sister when you could already see she wasn't feeling well. My sister said no multiple times, but he told her to go lie down. Now, in a really cold and busy tone. Mind you, he did this in front of my family, and none of them said a word, but I could see she was upset, so I told him to leave her alone. He told me to mind my own business, and my family were siding with him, which I thought was a bad of them. The short version of what happened is that I told him off for the way he was speaking to my sister and how he was trying to control what she did even though she's made it clean. She didn't want to. He started arguing back and telling me I needed to stay out of it as it's none of my business, and implying he would kick me out of their house if I didn't. Things immediately did get pretty heated, and my sister started crying. And then he started apologizing to her and telling her not to cry, which I think was a bad act to make himself feel better. After she started crying, he convinced her to go to sleep, and my family were telling me I wasn't wrong and acting like I was the one who upset her and let her control freak of a husband. My sister hasn't said anything about what happened to me directly, but when I brought up how her husband is bossy, she said he was just worried and that he didn't know how to handle situations he couldn't control or fix, so I shouldn't be angry with him since he was having a hard time. So, am I the bad guy?